Good afternoon, or excuse me, good evening. I don't even know where I'm at right now. So it's been a long day. So today was day 3. So I want to give you an update of this is going to be kind of an abbreviated update because of you know I had to leave a little bit earlier today, and so I had some people that I trust that were kind of they took over, and so they were able to kind of hold down the fort while I was gone. So that was nice, and so we have some things going and some things that we need to talk about, when it comes to Friday. Friday is the day. And Friday is the day. And if you guys can hear this, please like, comment, let me know that you guys are there. That helps our algorithm, helps it get it out to more people. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm sorry it's so late, 9:15. I just got home. And so I just want to give you kind of an abbreviated update. And we had some victories today. We had some things that we can celebrate, and that's kind of where we're at. And so there's also we have I got word on my way home today that we have the closing argument's going to be 10 a.m. on Friday. Okay, so my goal would be to get as many people there to show support as we can. So if you guys can get there and take the day off, or if you don't work on Friday, if you can juggle it so you can be there on Friday at 10 a.m., that would really help our cause. And so that's what I'm kind of recommending here is we have to show that this situation is important to us, because that's going to help influence, and that's what I'm wanting to do here. And yeah, if you can't make it, I understand. But if you have people that can make it, please put them in touch with me. I'll make it information as easy as I can, so we get there, get in, get out, and do what we need to do. And so you have Friday off. Perfect. That is awesome. That is awesome. And so I'm going to highlight that. And yeah, I'm going to be there 8 a.m. I get there early. That's my thing. I have tons of other stuff that I do while I'm waiting. There's no days off here. And so whatever we can do, we can get there 8. Obviously, we closing hours is going to start at 10 a.m. If we can be there, it would be huge. And so this is, I would anticipate the other side's going to be there as well. I think they've been reserving, the people. There's a couple things I want to celebrate tonight. Okay. I want to celebrate something really, really big. And I feel, from my heart, that what we did yesterday with Lisa Reynolds and how we called her out, how we sent emails, that kept her out of court today. I truly feel that us flexing on her and saying you're a hypocrite and calling her out kept her out of court today. So everybody that sent an email, I sent an email, well done. That was something huge that we kept that lawmaker out of the building. And so pat yourselves on the back. That was huge. And so today we had a handful of us, there may be 3 or 4 of us, which is fine. Today was just a lot of it was the back and forth, it was the game. I'm really curious because I'm going to give you an abbreviated written kind of breakdown of today, like I've been doing a written update. But I also have 2 other guys that are going to submit their own kind of perception. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see, what they saw from their eyes. I'm really excited about that, because it's going to be like kind of a different flavor. And so that's something that we the people that we had were effective, and there was like 4 or 5 of us, and we had a good lunch together. And it's been, as much as it's a horrible thing to be a part of, it's actually been a really good thing to have, people there supporting our attorneys, supporting me. I mean, I really can't thank you guys enough for showing up, and the people that did, and the people that couldn't make it, I totally understand and I get it, and I appreciate all the positive encouragement. That's what kind of fills the tanks right now. It's not easy being in this situation, and watching the just the sheer amount of money being spent. I mean, I would estimate. I mean, the state of Oregon spending upwards of $100,000 a day in legal fees. And I'm really, so yesterday they sent me, like, because they were supposed to give me the final information for my Freedom of Information request yesterday. They emailed me, said that all the attorneys were in court, so they're not going to have the updated, they're not going to have the total. And so my response to them, they're going to have to give back to me next week. I said, okay, that's fine. Just make sure you update that total so it reflects next week's date. So now I have all the accurate information. The lady that testified today, it was like her company's billing the state of Oregon for $1,150 per hour that she's there. That's insane. And so I can't wait to get this information when I can put it in this pretty little box and then we blow it up. And so that's the thing, is the people. Some of the tactics that I use here that I'm using are kind of like a guerrilla type tactic. I've learned a lot through my journeys on what other guys are doing from around the country, and gals. And so I'm kind of plugging in those ideas. I'm putting them here, and we're seeing some results. I mean, obviously what happened yesterday with Lisa Reynolds, the fact that she didn't show up today, that's a victory for us, because we don't want her in that courtroom. We don't want her, publicizing the information that she gets, and she's going to use her advantage to push 348, 2005, 393, 2572. So the fact that we kept her out because we sent emails and called her a hypocrite and shined a spotlight on her, that's a win, right? And so a lot of this morning. So let's touch base. I don't want to spend too much time because I got a ton of stuff to still do, because I'm home now. I'm up at 4:30ish tomorrow, and I got to be up in Portland again tomorrow morning, and so I got to do all tons of stuff before I can get ready to go. I'm going to be up there at least another night, so I'll be coming home Friday afternoon. So it is. We just got to get it done, and so where we're at. So today started off with Brian DeLay, which I put the bios in. I didn't have time to do it today, so I did it this morning while I was waiting for court to start. Andy Munson was there, and I really, really appreciate him being there with me. And Brad was there, one of the sheriffs, and and then we had another guy show up. Chris showed up, and so it was nice to have us there. We had a good vibe, and so we went in there. Brian DeLay, he started his testimony yesterday. I didn't have time to really break down his bio, and so then I started working on that this morning. I put it in there, and I started like the common thing of all the notes that I took yesterday is the background, the education, where he goes and where he works. This guy is, he might be book smart, but he's not, gun smart. And so this is their expert witness. And so, he stumbled a few times this morning, and, obviously everything he was trying to do, he was trying to counter Ashley, our witness from Monday. And so, he did everything he could, but the problem is his lack of experience about firearms. And especially when we're talking about repeaters, which is the Winchester 1863, which is a lever action. There's things that he did not know, and he was 100% inaccurate on a lot of the stuff when it comes to, like, what was funny to me is he started off talking about air guns. And so what he was trying to do was paint a picture of the historical relevance of air guns when it comes to the founding of our country. And one thing we have to think about what they're trying to do when they're arguing this stuff is the Bruin decision painted a picture of the way this is supposed to be ruled on going forward. And so what they talk about is time of when the 14th Amendment was ratified, which is about 1868, if I'm not mistaken. And so they're trying to find in common use, standard capacity repeating rifles at that time of inception. And so the whole point of this is they're trying to prove that there wasn't the technology back then, so what we have today can't be considered in common use because of historical traditions. And that's a problem for me. And because you're basically painting air rifles as an effective repeater when there was no proof that it could stop a person. It could, what I mean? So their argument is like apples to oranges. the Henry Spencer, that was another one was talked about. And that was another one that we talked about. Obviously, Ashley was more fluent in that because of her educational background. And she was a curator. She did all this stuff. Like, her bio is really, she's a remarkable woman. And I'd love to do a listen and learn with her in the next couple weeks, and just geek out on guns. Like, I want to pick her brain to just talk about guns. Like, that's something that I find really, really interesting. And so that's the part of, like, what happened today that I really find intriguing is the historical application of our firearm. I'm a gun guy. I love guns, and I collect guns, and it's part of my lifestyle. And so, just hearing the traditions is really, really cool. And so I did notice that the judge was engaged. I spent a lot of time watching the judge. I don't care about them. I don't care about their bios. I care about what she is doing with this information. Is she taking notes? Is she nodding along? Is she acting like she has a puzzled look on her face? I mean, is all this stuff having effect on that judge? Because ultimately, that's what's all that's going to matter is what is her ruling at the end of the day. Okay, I don't care about anything else. She's the only one that matters in that room. And yeah, weapons. Absolutely. I come in peace. So that's funny. I appreciate that. And so, there's things that's cool. Mine too. Like, dude, it's awesome. And so, I spent a lot of time watching that, and we talked about the Civil War era, a lot of stuff. And I could detect from his testimony there was a colonizer kind of undertone. There was a supremacy type vibe with him. He's a UC Berkeley liberal. These guys, what they do is they get this political science degree, right? They get their experience, then they jump into gun policy. They start building the experience, right? And one of the things I caught him on that I was really upset with about is the fact that the first half of his career, when he's a quote unquote expert when it comes to historical firearms, he didn't get out of his echo chamber. Okay. And so what I mean by that is all the people that he dealt with when it comes to historical facts of firearms were people that were liberal, college educated liberals like him. Right. And so I have a real problem with that, because that's not presenting the whole information to, obviously, the public, also the court, right? Because there's so much stuff that you're not accessing when it comes to information if your view is so jaded and you're only going to focus on one thing. And so, that's something that I was definitely, my ears perked up. And then he said, like, half his career was this way, and then he realized that he was missing part of the information, and so then he had to get outside of his comfort zone. He actually bought himself a replica repeater, a Uberti from 1863, and so now he's a gun owner, so now, and like, that gives him street cred, which it doesn't. So that's what we're dealing with here in this situation. I'm not sure what he was billed to the state of Oregon, and so that's kind of where we're at. And so we talked about the Henry on there. There was some cool stuff. I like talking guns, and he did circle back. They spent a lot of time trying to discredit Ashley's testimony. They want to talk about their experience to make it look like they're the ones that should be trusted in this situation. And so it's just part of this game that we're playing. And the unfortunate thing is it costs a lot of money. And so, the judge, for the most part, one thing I didn't really, really like is the fact that, he talked about, let me see here, make sure I got the right one, because I got all my notes are so jacked up. I ran out of ink yesterday. That's the thing. There's just so much that goes into what I'm trying to do here for you guys. He, at the end of the day, he did his thing. Definitely doesn't know a lot about 1911s, and So his scope of historical information is very, very limited. I'm working on developing a way where I put out this information. Like when I'm done with this, I'm going to do very in-depth like blog posts and putting out information, because I want to tie the information that I'm going to put out around these people's necks and make it look where they are not who they say they are. And obviously a majority of their, you know, absolutely, Dan Mitchell right here. I'm sorry to hear about what I need to touch base with you, Dan. I'll hopefully do that tomorrow or the next day, because I want to figure out what happened in Washington. I heard it was a really bad ruling, but I think from what I hear, it's going to set you guys up for the good stuff, and that's what I'm hoping. And so, Dan Mitchell, he's from Vancouver. He's an FFL. This guy is doing the work, and I respect him to the moon and back, and his wife. And so if there's something that like I need questions asked or answered, like this is one of the guys that I go to. And so, his information has a lot of value, a lot of weight. And so, this is a source that we can always trust. And so, you know, yeah, we didn't spend any money on mental health. We didn't even talk about mental health. What was funny to me, okay. So I don't want to get to, I'm back on track because I don't have a lot of time. So pretty uneventful closing. The guy, he did his thing. I can't. He probably scored points. I think we scored points, and so it just comes down to whether what the value, the weight of the judge is going to put on this testimony. And so it's all part of the deal, and that's kind of where I'm at. And so, going forward, we got the next guy. The next guy was, Kevin Sweeney. Okay. This was great. This was great testimony. And like, what I mean is we're talking flubs galore. And so obviously in most of the testimony today, the witnesses, they showed their bias, and our cross-examination did a really, really good job of, highlighting that, getting it on the record. So there was a couple times that we scored some really critical points on the record to get this information entered. And so that's going to benefit us, once this thing goes to the next court, because that's what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to be real with you, is this is going to be either we win or we lose. Either way, it's going to be appealed. There's no way that it's not going to the next court. And so, our team and what we're trying to do is just get everything on the record. So it moves to the next court. That's not going to be a trial or anything like that. They're just going to look at testimony and the court record, and then they're going to review it, and then they're going to rule, either in our favor or not. If, depending on what happens, then it would go next to the next, the Supreme Court. In reality, this is going to go to the Supreme Court. There's no way that this does not go that far. And this is something that really is bad for America, right? And if this thing gets established, this is going to set a precedent that we really don't want it to set. And so, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to maneuver around Bruen. Bruen is very specific, and there's a lot of maneuvering where they're trying to, skirt the Bruen decision. They're trying to, note this footnote, and it's just all legal garbage. But it is part of the game. And so that's what we have to understand. That's what I'm trying to make sure that you guys understand. And so we're talking about, Kevin Sweeney. He was the next guy up. This guy he talked about so he's an American history buff, professor, yada, yada, yada. Talked a lot about the colonial wars, militia arms. I'm not wrong, Randy. So, please, the stuff that I say, I understand it's not easy to listen to, but you have to understand, like, this is a big picture thing. And I'm not wrong here. And I want us to prepare ourselves for this situation. And that's why I say this is not a 1 year fight, 6 month fight, 2 month fight. This is 5, 10 years. that's what this is going to go, and that's the reality. We have to prepare ourselves for that, and so that's kind of where I'm at. And that's they know they're in. Greg, one thing to think about here with the Bruin decision, they know their days are numbered when it comes to, because of the Bruin decision. Only thing that, and I'm going to say a caveat here, the only way this thing would change is if there's a change on the courts, right? So if obviously 2024 is going to be a really, really important election. If we do not get control of the House, the Senate, and maybe the White House, there could be a chance, there could be a switch in the courts, which would really, really be bad for us. And then we're fighting this stuff all over again. And so there's so much to go into this, and yep, absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, and I just, Randy, and like, you're not wrong. Okay. I'm not trying to chastise you here. I'm like, you're not wrong. You just have to understand, these are the conversations that I have daily with the people that I trust, that are smarter than me, that are in the know, so I can give you the information that you guys need to know. And obviously some stuff I can't share, but some stuff, the stuff that's really pertinent, when it's like, we need to be making our purchases, right? We need to be supporting those FFLs. We need to be doing all this stuff, because, heaven forbid something goes south for us. If this thing goes into effect, we're going to be shut down. And that's what's going to happen. That's what they want. And so back to Kevin Sweeney. So Kevin Sweeney, he had a really different opinion of the militia. And so we're talking about the militia in a historical aspect. I've been to Lexington and Concord. I've walked where the shot heard around the world was. I've seen the information that's presented on the displays there, and the information that he presented kind of countered that. And so the way he was viewing the militias is they were paid service members, similar to like our National Guard or our military currently. And so, yeah, thanks, man. I will tell you about Kevin Sweeney. That was awesome. Yeah, so he got so schooled today. So, and I'm going to paint the picture once I get to there. And so but he's talking about the militia. The militia means something different to him. And so that's why a couple times he was very critical about the Heller decision, which I put out today. Is his personal opinion. He thinks that the Supreme Court got it wrong, because the way they viewed the militia, right? He said, like, because the militia in reality, like our founding fathers, were just a ragtag people just like you and I. They were farmers, they were, blacksmiths, there were all sorts of different trades that came together when the British came to get the powder from our armory in Lexington and Concord. And instead of giving them the powder, because that's where all the powder is stored, is in the armory, they give them the lead instead. And it was the militia, right? It was a civilian militia. And so, that's what is being lost here. And that's what he was trying to twist the terminology when it comes to militia. He was trying to make it look like these private arms were not, some of them were issued arms, but a lot of these arms in historical tradition were from the information that I've read. They were in the private hands of the citizenry. And so, that's something that we need to think about. And so Kevin Sweeney, they brought him in, they probably paid him a pretty penny, but his focus was on a certain time period. So when we got him out of his certain time period that he's familiar, like his bread and butter, that he spends all this time writing books and all these fluff pieces that he does to continue to do what he does, he went off the rails. Like he went off the, like we started scoring points when he starts, we start talking about the repeating rifle, because he didn't know anything about it. He's like, well, maybe I should know more about it. Asked him about John Moses Browning. Goes, well, I think I should probably know something a little bit more about John Moses Browning. It's like, well, dude, like, you talk about like the father of modern innovation when it comes to a firearm is John Moses Browning, and you don't know about it and you're a history guy. So tells to me that he wants to practice and celebrate the part of history that aligns with his position, which that's why he was hired by the state attorneys. And so, that was something that very, very suspect for me. So from this, we, on the cross examination, we're talking about the Winchester repeater, the 1863, which Ashley talked about heavily. And, he couldn't answer if it had a rifled barrel or not. And so in the name of the rifle is Winchester rifle. He called it a carbine. And then he doubled back on that conversation and then said, well, like he couldn't answer if the barrel was rifled or not, and with lands and groups. And so I was sitting there next to Andy, and we're looking at it like, is this really happening? Like, it's like watching a guy fall apart on the stand. And it was hilarious. And so from that, like the funniest part, because I'm a safety guy, everything about safety with me. And so he's on the stand, right? And he's being examined, right? And he starts talking about the loading procedure of a flintlock musket. And maybe this was before the misstep with the Winchester. It's been a long day. But so he's going through this process. He's showing how the flint, how you prime it, all this stuff. He's showing how to ram, like what position you are, where it is when you prime it. You put the cap on there, or the flint, whatever you're using, and then you put it up like this, and then you see your greased patch up here, and then you put the ball, and then you ram it down like this, right? And so he's going, and like he's in a zone, like he's like he's on the battlefield right now. It was okay. So I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. Yeah, show us how to do it. And then he goes like this, and he's like a full reenactor, and it's pointed right at the judge. It's like the Binger finger. You remember from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial where it was the Binger finger, where he has the AR, and it's an actual AR, and he flags the whole jury with this AR finger on the trigger. That's why I call it the Binger finger. He didn't have a gun, like in this guy's defense, but the fact of the matter is he's got a full sight picture, and he's looking directly at the judge, and I see the judge's eyes like even though it's not a real gun, it's like that's how much experience she has with guns. It's like it's a finger gun basically. and he goes, "Oh, sorry, Judge," but he's like this. "Oh, sorry, Judge." I lost it. It was just so funny because I'm a safety guy. Obviously I would have my finger straight if I was going to do it. I wouldn't have flagged the judge if I was going to do it. But so it's a little stuff like that I found really, really funny that I reported to you guys because yeah, he said, "Sorry, Judge." It was hilarious. Like it was like a real thing. So it's stuff like this that gets me through the day, the monotony of listening to just garbage. And so from that, there it was just some good stuff. I felt like that was a situation where we scored those points that we needed. And the judge, everybody laughed. It was hilarious. Like everybody laughed. It was really, really funny because I think he was more embarrassed because of that just happened, even though it's really not a big deal. It was just funny in the context of this trial because we're all tired. I'm looking at these attorneys, they're putting all these hours in, and like I get it, everybody's tired at this point. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And it was amazing. And so other than that, and then so going on to the next lady. So the next lady, her name was Lucy Allen. And so she is she does an economic consulting for NARA, right? Which I didn't write down all the information about what that stands for. All I know, I learned some things from her about where I'm going to tap into some different databases, and hopefully it doesn't cost me money, but I want to like streamline the stuff that I do to be able to track down information. And so I'm going to try like getting in with what she's using, her database. And oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Sweeney, I could see you could like, have you ever seen like a movie where like something happens and that person, like, they want to just kind of lean back in the chair and then just kind of slide out of the chair so that nobody can see them. Like, you talk about the time from like where he's in the box there to back to the seats. He actually went outside. He was he was I could tell that he stepped in it. He stepped in it big. And so, that's the whole point of what I'm going to do next with my next, information that I'm going to put out is I'm going to figure out a way to tie this information I'm going to put out around his testimony, right? So like the public can know that this guy can't be trusted. This is not good money. And because this is what these people do. These people make a good living flying around the country testifying as experts, yet they don't have all the details right. And that'd be like somebody like myself going in there and presenting myself as this expert witness on something, 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 and then not know the whole situation. So that's kind of the information. And so, oh dude, it's Dwayne. I'll let you know when I figure out if I can get into it. But it, like, literally the database, she said. So it's like, I need to get back on track. So it came out in the cross examination. So I found out some new orgs where I can be tracking the mass shootings. And so I'm going to be looking into their situation. I'll probably publish that next week once I get back to my stuff. She talked a lot about the NRA database. A lot of the stuff, she talked a lot about samples and sample sizes, as opposed to, that's where I have to understand where, like, how could you present a sample of the information and then present it like the biggest cross. I mean, that's where I'm like, this, like, I'm sitting here looking at the people next to me, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, she's talking, like, she gave us all these stats on mass killings, right? Which, she's talking about, so 179 mass shootings since 82. Okay. So 1982, there's been 179 mass shootings, which I know Moms Demand Action's publicized. There's been in their emails that I get, there's been over 200 mass shootings this year alone. Right. So I would trust this lady's information over Moms Demand Action's information. Right. And she says there's only been 179 mass shootings. Okay. And then she talked about how many died, how many injuries, and she talked about how many mass shootings had, they talk about large capacity magazines, right? And LCMs, which it's really a standard capacity. I hate that term. And she talked about how 41%, so there 99 shots on average were fired in all of these mass killings, right? The one thing that they don't want to, and they talked about Las Vegas. Well, from the testimony that I got yesterday, I took the notes from Las Vegas. There was actually 1,100 rounds fired in that 11 minutes in the Las Vegas shooting, right? So what they're doing is they're lumping all these mass shootings together. Obviously, when you have 107, or so now you have 73 with those high capacity magazines, you add 1,100 rounds into that total of 73 mass killings, right? That's where you get your 99 shot average. So you have to understand how they present the information for you to understand where they're trying to go with the topic. And so that's something I'm very, very fortunate that I, through all my years of doing this, I've understand how they present their data. That way they can shore up their side of the story, so our side really went on, like, when it was time for the cross-examination, we went on the attack on her. And so what we did here is we tried to, our attorneys tried to impeach her. They started off, they actually tried to strike her testimony Oh yeah, for sure. Gray Thomas, 100%. Like I had a guy, yes, no, one guy said it was uh, 8 to 9 seconds per reload. And I don't know about you, if it takes me 8 to 9 seconds to reload a magazine, I need to give them up, right? Because I'm not doing what I need to do. So, you know, yeah, 100%, 100%. And you and I were looking at each other like, what is happening here? But I think at the big picture here, Chris, is what they were trying to do is they're trying to throw her all of her stuff out. I think that's what they're trying to do. And I think, and I'm looking at the judge. I watched the judge here and I took notes of this. Is obviously the judge kind of scolded our counsel about the impeachment because he was doing it the wrong way. Like I get that. Because there's a certain way that they want it done in federal court. And if you don't do it in the right order, then they're not going to impeach the witness, And so, that's the thing. There was no redirect, which was great. And, she got killed. She got literally killed for $1,150 an hour on the stand. And, so, that's something to think about is, we did what we needed to do today. Obviously this is an abbreviated, obviously it doesn't seem abbreviated because it's been 36 minutes. But this is kind of where we're at today. And I ended up leaving after that. And so because I had to leave, and it was nice to get out of there. And oh dang. Perfect. So I just got an update from my friend, and so I'm going to read his testimony, so I can figure it out, what I want to add and not add. And so it was fun. It was, oh, for sure, Alicia, 100%. You would think there would be standardized, but everybody's different because everybody has a different interpretation of what's happening. And so, from that, I ended up after they were done with her, I don't know who went, and so I need to track that down so I can. But that's why I say this is abbreviated. All in all, the good things that we can take from today, obviously, is the black eyes that we gave the other side in the cross examination on all three of their expert witnesses from today. So I feel that we did our own. And one thing we have to think about: this is a loser for us. Okay, if we win, it's going to be a miracle, and we should all buy lottery tickets. But in the reality, this is going to set us up for the next court, and so we have to be prepared for that. And so, that's yeah, yeah. That's yeah. I'm gonna figure out how I get into her database, because from the database, the way she explained it is, let me find that number was really, like, Chris, you'll really enjoy that. So with you, Dwayne, is the information. It's Factiva is what it is, right? So Factiva, and so Factiva is a data source. It's basically almost like a search engine, right? And it uses 33,000 different, sources of data. I've heard of it before. It's with all the other stuff, I just haven't made it a focus. And now that I see that she's using it to her advantage like this, I'm going to figure out how I tap into it and use it to our advantage. So it's called Factiva. And so that's what they're using. That's how they're collecting this data. Another thing that I want to bring up is in the Sweeney cross examination. So Sweeney said that he was using search terms, right, to find the information, right? So he used gun, he used pistol, he used rifle. Yeah, so use all these search terms, right, to find all this information, right? And so our attorney, which was hilarious, right? So our attorney said, so you mean to tell me you check for, pistol, rifle, all these other things? He goes, did you put repeater into that search engine? And he's all, well, no, I didn't. It's like, well, don't you think that would be a relative term, like especially what we're talking about today? He goes, well, I didn't necessarily like, so checkmate right there. And so, you know, yeah, oh yeah, for sure. No, no, yeah, 100%. So, I'm gonna get off here. I still got so much to do. I did have a kids class tonight in Albany. I had about 30 kids. It was absolutely phenomenal, and it made me feel so good to be out of Portland and be in my own environment, my own element. And it feels great to be home, even though I'm going back up tomorrow. But I only have one more night in a hotel room, which is great. Um, but it was really really good to get back to some sort of normalcy, but I still have a lot to do tonight to get ready to go back up there tomorrow. The linguistic guy. Who is the linguistic guy? Some of these guys, to be honest with you, I tuned out. Um, the linguist, yeah. Some like I'll find the data from my friends there, John and Andy, just because there was a time that I had to check out. I couldn't be there. I had to I had to get out of the room. I had to. I just I couldn't take any more of it. So, um, oh, okay. So yeah, I don't know who that is. So please, if you can put his name in there. So yeah, so drop his name so I can build a bio on him and put it in that one post that I have. I'd appreciate that, Chris. So we know who he is, so we can track. Um, if we can do that, that'd be amazing. So, so what we're gonna do? So I'm gonna get off here. But Friday, 10 a.m. is the closing arguments, and that's when the fireworks are gonna go, and that's gonna be the fun part because now we're going to be all those attorneys are going to be trying to score points, and that's that's where I'm trying to make sure that we have as many people there as we can, because we have to show up and make it look like this is something that's important to us, right? And so that's kind of where I'm at. And if we can if we have the day off, or we can maybe take a day off to be there, I think it's really really important where we can make sure that we show up, and that starts at 10. It's going to go, we'll probably go 10 to noon, take a lunch, which will go from 12-ish to 1:15. They've been giving us about an hour and 15 for lunch, and then it'll come back. To one thing I will say about this, being up there, I'm surprised how clean that area is. Like, they have really cleaned it up, and like haven't really seen any homeless people during the day. Like I'm shocked, to be honest with you. And so, like, I don't want people to be afraid to go back down there. I'm not, I wouldn't go down there during night, but like I felt good about it, to be honest with you. I was that was pretty cool. So it's nice to not have to worry about that aspect from going from the our vehicles to the building. So that's kind of where I'm at. And so I'll keep you updated tomorrow, but we can plan on Friday at 10 a.m. being up there. And oh yeah, so I missed that. So I'm sure people will fill me in. And so 10 a.m. on Friday, closing arguments. That's where it's going to be fun. That's where you're going to see all the the maneuvering. So if you guys can be there, that would be great, and we'll try to pack that room and make sure. Yeah, eventually. There's the one thing to think about. There's going to be so much data. You're talking our like so one thing about like preparing for this, right? The state of Oregon dropped 7,700 pages on our attorneys literally 3 weeks before trial. right? It was a data dump, and and that's where I got roped in. Others got roped in, so we started helping them, and you know that that was you're not going to get. It's not going to be a simple request. I mean, it's a serious amount of data, and I mean, they're literally, when they're wheeling stuff in every day, they have hand trucks full of boxes. I mean, we're talking, they have a team of 20 attorneys at least on both sides, combined, and so it's not, you're not gonna, I mean, you'd have to be really specific on what your request is, because um there's just so much information. Like, I would love to see it, but like, I don't even know how many pages that would be. So, so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna get off here. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will keep you updated. I'm gonna do another written update. That's what I'll probably work on now. Or actually, I'll do a post for my class today. That was, I needed that. So that was awesome. So I'll do that, and then hit the road in the morning and keep you up to date, and we'll do it all over again. But plan on seeing me on Friday if you guys can be there. I would really, really appreciate you guys. And that's how we're gonna stand together and support our attorneys, and let them know that we appreciate the work that they're doing, and it's gonna be great. So, dude, Andy, you have no idea how much it meant to me to have you there with me today. I I've known you a short time, but I really enjoy your company, and so thanks for being there. Thanks for being a person I can rely on when I'm not there, and so cool. I look forward to seeing you on Friday, and let's do the damn thing. So, one thing to think about: long term. This is a long term fight. This is not going to be over tomorrow. This is not going to be over, because it could take months for her to rule, and so that's what we just have to prepare for us. Okay, well, Jason, no worry, brother. No, brother, and that's the thing. There, sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? So here's what I'm gonna. Okay, well, let's find Jason. Let me find. So Jason, here's what I'm gonna do for you, though. Okay, since you can't make this one, can you help me when we're in Harney County? Okay, so when we're back in Harney County in September, can I count on you to be there when we need you there? That's something that I would think about. If we can trade where it doesn't make sense for you to be here in Portland to help us, could I count on my people that are in Eastern Oregon to be in Harney County with me when in September? I would really, really need. I need people. I need, just for moral support and all sorts of different things, and obviously there's a great group that I already have over there, but it'd be nice to have, just to grow our network, right? It's all about building bridges, and hopefully turn it into something, you know. So yeah, yeah. So I don't know yet on Chris about Harney County. I talked to the attorney today a little bit, and so I'm proud of that kid. He's young, and he's whooped their butts 4 times, and so that's awesome. So I'm a yeah, road trip. I'd love it. Let's do it. It's going to be before the snow, so that'll be nice. And so maybe we'll do some camping. You know, that'd be sweet. So say whatever we do to save costs. This thing is not cheap. So so other than that, I'm gonna get off here. But plan on Friday, and we'll go from there. It's 10 a.m. on Friday. That's going to be closing arguments, and I'm going to get off here. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.